What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. The first year anniversary birthday event for the First Descendant ended a little while ago as of the recording of this video, and I pretty much watched the entire thing, and it's just over 5 hours long, so I wanted to bring out a video with just kind of like a summation of sort of like the TLDR points of this. Essentially, there was a roadmap and lots of discussions in this presentation, basically taking us from now all the way until December. So just kind of like chalk and block full of information, and I made some notes for myself. I will obviously not cover everything that is in the 5.5 hours because it's simply impossible. At the moment right now I'm running on fumes, Red Bull and coffee. This event started at 3 in the morning for me, and I was lucky enough to be one of the fortunate content creators who were actually invited to be part of this panel that was in the back of the event. That's me over there. And basically, after the event, after all the entire presentation was done, we were allowed to ask questions and everything. It was really awesome interacting with the community, everything like that. And it was great. I even managed to get to ask a question, which was pretty damn awesome. And I'm going to start right off the rip by talking about Axion Plains, which is the new sort of like open world activity, which is going to be the new, I guess people in chat were calling it Sigma Sector 2.0. I think it's a little bit more than Sigma, but the idea is kind of like the same. The point is it's a massive open world area, and essentially you in this area will have drop ships that drop off enemies. You can use the new motorcycle, hover bike, whatever you want to call it, to traverse this area. This is an open area. In other words, there will be other players there as well. There will be activities that happen in here, and there will be a new faction. And just generally, this is where we're probably going to be spending most of our time, since this area is also going to be where you can farm pretty much everything. So XP, arc tuning, augmentation cores, mutant cells will be able to get there, blueprints, and also, trigger modules, which I will explain a little bit more about just now. Axion Plains, the idea for them here is the developer made special mention of the fact that what they want to do is they want to do away with the fact that you can sort of like just one tap and just kill massive amounts of enemies super fast. They want to make combat a little bit more involving and make it feel a little bit better for you to essentially overcome certain, fights and everything like that. So the way that they explain it is what they were trying to do is they were trying to increase the normal vanilla small paper fucking enemies, their health a little bit more, and then bring the sort of chunkier yellow bar enemies a little bit down. So almost like there's this sort of like middle ground where you're fighting yellow bars and you're fighting like normal health enemies at the same time. The example that they use is like oftentimes when you shoot or you do AoE into a group, all the small enemies die instantly, and then you have like one or two thick enemies left behind that you have to deal with. So overall, I was scanning the comment section as well while this was going on, because I think that the community is fundamentally divided, I would say, between people that just want to fucking rip through shit as fast as possible, and then another side of the community which feels like, the game has like no depth, it has no difficulty, it has nothing like that. And I commiserate with both sides of the argument, both sides of the coin there, and I do feel oftentimes for this developer, because they have this fan base which has really hardcore players in it. It has speedrunners in it. It has casuals in it. It has beginners in it. It has people with thousands of hours in it. And it's impossible to make a game experience that's going to cater for all of these people. But you can definitely see them trying to essentially do this and trying to kind of like address all of the complaints and the concerns I'm guessing that they're seeing on their Discord and Reddit. And again, I'm sure that that's something that's also going to piss someone off, because they're going to say, don't listen to those people. Either which way, it's difficult to judge this now without seeing it in practice. It definitely does look like you have to work harder to kill groups of enemies. So if that was their objective, then of course that is what they've done. But it remains to be seen how difficult it really will be. And of course, we'll tune in once this drops in August. Of course, there's also going to be a demo for this in July, I believe. So we'll be able to get a little snapshot of this a little bit earlier, which I think is also probably important for them, because they maybe going to use that as a barometer to basically see how bad this is. Anyway, trigger modules is something else which I mentioned as well. Trigger modules is essentially the new mutant cells, if I can put it that way. Now, this is a new module that you can put on your Descendant. Your Descendant has to be level 40. It has to have level 40 arc tuning unlocked. And you also, if I understood correctly, also have to have every module modded at least once on your module board of the Descendant. Once you do that, this module will be available for you. You'll be able to farm it in Axion Fields. And essentially, I think we're launching in August. We're launching with 9 of these. Basically, what they do is they are Descendant or arc specific. So, for example, they can be based on a certain damage type, or they can be based on a certain archetype. And if your Descendant has that damage type or that archetype or something like that, then you can snap this module in. This module will augment some of your skills. Like some of these things are like it leaves behind a dot on the ground that deals additional damage. Some of them summon stuff from the sky, like meteors from the sky. And this is a system that they're going to keep on developing. So very much like we've also been told that mutant cells is something that will keep growing. Trigger modules will keep growing as well, and they'll keep adding these to the game, which will then, of course, give you additional ways of augmenting your Descendants. So, I mean, this is going to be the name of the game. They have to keep doing this because the point is if they don't keep adding new systems on top, you have players that reach essentially saturation point. And I do realize that that is the lesser percentage of players than the amount of players who have not reached saturation point yet. But nonetheless, you have players that reach like saturation point and then kind of like say, okay, cool, but there's nothing I can do to further increase the power level of my character. And this game kind of like lives and dies on its power fantasy in a way. Like you always want to be making your shit kill stuff faster, move faster, be stronger, and all of that. I mean, that's kind of like the point, right? So yeah, it looks cool. Excited to try it out. You know, more power. Let's fucking go. As long as we have things that we could use that power on. Then we were also showed the new Descendants. So Nell, they explained like there's a whole bunch of new Descendants which are planned. Nell's the first new one that we're getting. And then of course Dia and a bunch of other ones are down the line as well. I'm definitely sure I said that. Is it Dia? Dia? Fuck me. Okay, I need sleep. Anyway, Nell is the new Descendant. She is non-attribute, and she kind of like seems like she's very AoE focused. It looks like she's going to be really, really good in the new Axion Fields sort of like activity, because yes, it will be good for you to deal massive amounts of AoE, but it's also going to be good for you to essentially deal different kinds of elemental damages and so on, because this new area, Axion Fields, Axion Plains, and I forgot to mention at the beginning there, but this will also have monsters in it that essentially have adaptive shields. So this means that if you kill a group of these monsters with like toxic damage, I think is the example they use, then the next batch that come out of a tunnel or out of a ship or something like that will actually be fucking resistant to that damage type. So it seems like it's going to be very good for you to bring to have groups of people with you. So it's going to be more difficult if you are playing as a solo. And then if you are playing as a solo, it probably means something if you have like your main element, which is on your Descendant, and then maybe have 1 or 2 weapons which do other elements, so that you can kind of like cover at least 2 or 3 elements, and you can get past the adaptive shields. Nonetheless, if you blow up where the minions come from, it essentially eliminates that advantage that they have. So there's some kind of like strategic play to be done there. But enough about that, back to Nell. So Nell is non-attribute. She is fusion and tech. That is how her abilities are split. I'm sure her transcendent mods will most likely possibly unify her abilities all into tech or all into fusion or something like that. But yes, she is non-attribute, fusion, and tech. And they showed some of the abilities off and everything like that. I've got that running in the background for you as well. Of course, once we have more detail and everything like that, I'll spend a little bit more time theory crafting this and looking into it and everything, because usually that's the funnest part about new Descendants coming out, is like figuring out, you know, I had an insane amount of fun with Ines, about, for example, which was like still to this day my favorite Descendant, and it looks like Nell might be right up there. So super excited for this, excited to build her and see what makes it tick. Then we will also show 2 new ultimate weapons which are coming. One is a scout rifle, one is a rocket launcher. The scout rifle is called Eraser, and the rocket launcher is called Exterminator. Both of these weapons will most likely be farmable in Axion Plains, and then also both of these weapons are seemingly perfect for this activity. So in the case of the scout rifle, basically what it does is it's a scout rifle, but it does AoE damage when it shoots. And it's also somehow, the way that they explained it, made it seem like it's able to shoot past the adaptive shield. So, or again, maybe the translation was a bit wonky there. Maybe I wasn't concentrating, but it also seems like it's either it shoots through the adaptive shields, or what it does is it bypasses the shield with the element that's best to defeat it. So what I mean by like is, so for example, if the enemies have like fucking like ice shields on them, then it switches the gun's element to fire, or it shoots fire bullets, or applies a fire effect, or whatever, something like that. But nonetheless, it seems like it's going to be really good at popping those shields and essentially drilling through the rank and file enemies in Axion planes. And then that brings us to Exterminator, which is the rocket launcher. And this again seems to be very good in Axion planes in dealing with the bigger targets, so the drop ships and the fucking tunnels and some of the bigger, more chunkier enemies. Because it's just really good at like damaging their armor and essentially dealing a massive amount of damage at one time. The gimmick or the mechanic with this rocket launcher is that essentially you open up a lock-in window, and this locks onto targets, and then when you press fire, it shoots rockets at all those targets. So it's like carpet bombs the shit out of everything. So again, it sounds really cool. I've recently sort of like started liking rocket launches a little bit more than I used to, and yeah, it's cool, and it's gonna be awesome, just like launching like shitloads of rockets at enemies. So let's fucking go. Then they showed Wall Crusher. Now, this has been something that's been a hot topic for like a while, and that's with Season 3, we will have our first field boss, so field void intercept boss, and you will be able to tackle this boss with 8 players instead of the usual team of 4. Now, the thing is, this is a 8-player field boss event, so there's gonna be probably some mechanic and something like that in Axion planes that you'll have to do. Maybe deposit a currency, maybe kill a certain amount of mobs, maybe do a certain activity, something like that, which will then summon this boss. And then if you're part of the original summon, then you get this cool like fucking entry, animation where he slams into the ground and everything like that. Otherwise, it'll just be an instance that then you'll just run into it, and then boom, as long as there's space for you and the 8 slots haven't been filled yet, then you're in there. Now, the idea with this boss is they said that it's not going to be a mechanically intensive boss. They didn't want to create something like Deathstalker or whatever, where, you have randoms that run around that have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and then suddenly they're facing this boss, which is like super, super difficult. So the idea here is a massive boss that deals massive AoEs, which are dodgeable because they're telegraphed and everything, and so you can kind of like learn the fight from that perspective, and as long as you stay out of the fire, then you're good. And then it just becomes a DPS check where you're just trying to deal as much damage to this boss in as quick a time as possible, thereby making sure that he doesn't deal more damage to you or the people that are with you. They did also mention that the boss's health is not adaptive, so he has the same health pool whether it's one guy fighting him or whether it's 8. So obviously then it makes more sense to bring more people, because more people means faster kills, means better rewards, not better but faster rewards, and just less time taking damage and sort of like struggling. Then we were also shown the new Abyss boss. So of course this is the Abyss boss, which will also have a challenge mode. I believe the name is Storm Hanger or something like that. It is modeled after the Hanged Man, which is the first mechanically difficult boss that we had in the game, which people fucking detested. And so because it had a mechanic where you essentially had to take a item and bring it to the boss, and if you didn't do that, then the boss would wipe everybody and everything like that. And the thing is, how many players ended up overcoming this boss is essentially getting into a party with people who were dealing so much DPS that this fucking cube mechanic wasn't like an issue anymore. So one thing that they assured people and said is like, don't worry, like Stormhanger's not going to have any fucking weird mechanic like that per se, but it is going to be an Abyss boss, so obviously expect some difficulty. It's going to be electric, so it's exciting to get that in now again. And yeah, look, the Abyss bosses have been a lot of fun to thus far. Some of them have been more difficult than others, and of course challenge mode has been challenging so until you figure it out. And I mean, you're not getting those fucking crisp one taps on a challenge Abyss boss or anything yet. But yeah, so that is the next one that we can look forward to. Then I just made we have very few other small items to still discuss here, but just some other small little tidbits, quality of life and other things that they changed. They mentioned that when you now do socket assignments with your descendants, and that's not now, but when Season 3 starts, you will not have the stat reset anymore. So you'll still have the reset from level 40 to 1, meaning that you have to level again from 1 to 40, but now in the game currently, what happens is your stats also revert to level 1 stats, which is annoying because the point is then if you, let's say for example, the first couple of levels or the first couple of sockets that you are assigning, like I don't know, maybe you stack a bunch of DPS in, and then the point is you're doing Sigma and suddenly you reset to 1 and then you have like 2700 HP and you get fucking one tapped, and it's annoying, and then you have to slap in a fucking HP mod and everything like that. So this just means that you'll keep your stats that you have at level 40. There's a couple of other advantages to this as well, and that's the fact that if you are busy leveling, the point is if you go do a void intercept boss with other people in a group or something like that, you could be level 2 as you're still doing your socket assignments, but at least you, as long as you've been to level 40 once, you have level 40 stats, so you're not detrimental to the team, meaning that, you know, you're like a fucking paper mache animal that just gets crushed when the void intercept boss looks at you. They also mentioned something that'll be like a limited event because they kind of like be testing it. Although I gotta say it very much seems like something that they will down the line maybe charge money for or something like that. But there's going to be something called like a normal skip, which allows you to skip the entire normal difficulty of the campaign and essentially start directly with hard mode, which is a huge deal because that normal, I have a bunch of friends who got burnt out by the game in the normal mode because they couldn't find people to play with, or it was too much of a slog because you have to do all those missions and everything like that. And meanwhile their buddies are like, yo dude, we're doing fucking hard mode bosses and we're doing Sigma sector, and you're like, oh fuck me, I still got like 5 areas that I have to finish before I can get to you. So this will allow you to skip. You'll get a level 40 Descendant. You'll get some, you know, like boosted up equipment and I believe mods and everything like that. The idea would be that you basically get like a Descendant that's good to go and that, you know, can start playing hard mode difficulty. Probably not like the best shit, but, you know, at least comfortable enough to get you going. As I said, this will be a limited event, and this is kind of like something that they're going to use to test this, I guess. And what was also mentioned, because of course the first question comes in, okay, cool, now you're going to have a bunch of people who show up in hard difficulty and that possibly have not learned a lot of the mechanics that they were supposed to learn up until this point by fighting void intercept bosses, by doing certain activities and that sort of thing. And so there will be a onboarding track essentially with rewards, thereby incentivizing players that do this to actually go through this and essentially still be sure to be able to, you know, kind of like accomplish what they need to do. So how effective that's going to be, I guess we'll find out. But nonetheless, it is a good step that it is something that was in their peripheral and that they did think about. They talked about buffs. That's of course starting already with the patch. I guess, what is that? Tomorrow? Dude, my brain is jelly. But yes, we already have a Descendant adjustment patch tomorrow, which will adjust some of the Descendants. They did mention the names. I did not write it down. I'm an asshole. I apologize. But on the screen, they had a picture of fucking Jayber, bro. And so Jayber is the first Descendant, I believe, that they're targeting right at the beginning of Season 3. And then they did promise that every month there were going to be balance adjustments, whether that's balance adjustments to Descendants or to weapons or to Descendants and weapons or whatever the fuck. But the point is they promised more regular adjustments. And yes, they made a whole big stink about Jayber. So in before Jayber is the new hot shit in Axion fucking planes. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't believe it for 1 second. That dude needs a lot of work, bro. But anyway, they did say it's not just balance adjustments, but it's also like looking at toolkit and everything like that, which he desperately needs. He doesn't just need, they've adjusted his balance like 3 times. It's the toolkit that needs to be changed as well. Anyway, I digress. Then I think, yeah, they showed a fucking roadmap, dude, that goes all the way, like I said, from now until December. It is filled to the brim. They are approaching the same sort of thing as we saw in Season 2, and that is that it was divided into parts. Now, of course, Season 2 was divided into parts because Season 3 kept getting delayed. But Season 3 is going to have like 5 distinct sort of like phases, almost, if you can put it that way, and you can see that in the roadmap. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here, like far too many for me to cover. But there's like player-to-player fucking module trading, which is something that people have been asking. I can't believe they're putting it in the fucking game. But yeah, there's just a whole bunch of other stuff stuff in there. There's new fucking there's a new vessel, a new ship that we're gonna go onto. There's of course new bosses. There's new Descendant storylines, the whole shebang. So yeah, the roadmap it looks kind of like full. Like I said, it's from here until December, and that kind of like means to me that I guess season 3 runs from August until the first week in December. I guess maybe the first week of December is the start of season 4, or I don't know, the start of like season 3 point fucking B or whatever. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, that was pretty much it. I think like I said, I think I've covered most of the things, and still there's a whole bunch of shit that I've definitely left out, that I've definitely not included. But yeah, I think that's most of it. All in all, my summary, my summation of the event is it was a fun time. I think I said at the beginning already, so I'm not going to waste too much time repeating myself. Even though it was super long and it started super early for me, I had my eyes nailed to the screen, and yes, there was a lot of good information in there. There's a lot of passion. I can see that with the guys in the team and everything like that, the producer, the director, and everybody like that. There's a lot of like fucking, like inside jokes and everything. And yeah, these guys believe in their product, and they're trying their best to also get us to like it and everything like that. And I mean, I've enjoyed my time so far with the First Descendant, and I don't see the interest waning anytime soon, especially with new things coming in for us to do and to level and all that stuff, which, let's be honest, we've spent a little bit too long in Sigma Sector now, and we kind of like have another month to go in fucking July, so yeah, I'm kind of like chomping at the bit for something new. But that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new from this, something that excites you for the game in the coming future, and I appreciate all the support. I'll see you in the next video, and as always, fucking cheers.